What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Godspeed ZRZ. Now, if you've been following the channel, you guys already know about the Rubicon 392 behind me, but today is almost 1 full year of ownership with this amazing machine. I get so many questions about the individual parts and pieces we've added to this thing over the last year, so today I'm going to dive in and tell you about every single one and why I chose the specific part I did. So obviously, just from the starting off with the Rubicon 392, you get a couple extra features that you don't usually get with the Wrangler, and they're pretty well evident. It really knocks out a few of the things that you usually have to add right away. And one of those things is definitely the steel bumpers front and rear. With the steel bumpers on the Rubicon 392, it really doesn't leave you asking for too much more. So for that specific reason, I just haven't changed the bumpers out on this thing yet. And I really think that the bumpers on it for now look really, really good. I've been really happy with them on and off road, and I really can't complain with them much. Now, aside from that, you do get the Highline fender flares. And with that, these are the two-piece, so if you need to break them down, you definitely can. You do have the rock sliders, and with this one, you can tell it's got aftermarket wheels and tires. It did come with 33s to start. It was absolutely ridiculous, and we did change those out, and I ended up putting the 35s on the beadlocks, and they looked pretty good, but they just weren't necessarily big enough. To come around to the back, you guys can see we've also got the steel bumper in the rear. And like I say, with the steel bumper, it's worked really well. It looks really good, and I haven't had any issues with them yet, so I haven't changed them. Another thing you can get in a lot of the Rubicons, a lot of the Wranglers in general, is just the LED light group front and rear. And with those, they actually look really good. Now, I do have plans to change the rear taillights, but I actually don't have any plans to change the headlights, just simply because of how good they actually look and how well they function. Another cool thing you do get with the Rubicon 392 is definitely that aggressive hood with that mean hood scoop. It looks really good. You get the forward-facing front trail camera and also the black grille, but the best part is what's behind that grille and what's under that hood, the 6.4 Hemi. So with the 392, obviously the SRT-inspired 392 6.4 liter, with that motor, it hasn't really left me asking for too much power yet, so we haven't done any crazy power modifications, but that is definitely something that's to come. Now, to jump onto the things we have changed, obviously up front, you can definitely tell we've added on these extra fog lights, and these are actually flood beams from last fit. They actually sent them to me a while back, plugged them up with the factory auxiliary switches, and they've worked really well. Another thing is the hood latches, which I just recently made a video on. With these hood latches with the hood pin, it gives you more of a rally style look, and with these, it actually holds the hood much more securely than the factory ones do, and they just look a whole lot more aggressive. And obviously the wheels and tires, you can definitely tell we've changed these out. These are the 38 1550 Mickey Thompson Baja Bosses, and they look extremely aggressive. And then for the wheels, we've got the XD 860 Onslaughts, and these are 20 by 12, negative 44 millimeter offset with 4.5 back spacing, and the fitment on these is really nice, really aggressive. Now, you can still tell we've got the factory suspension, and with this is the non-XR, so the standard Rubicon 392 suspension, and no lift kit needed on this, at least not for now. The only thing I did have to do is trim down the fender flare. You can see right here, I've cut it down. I haven't even really went back through and trimmed it all up to look 100%, but we also cut down the rock sliders there too. So after cutting down the rock sliders, we haven't had any issues with clearance, especially in the front. And then in the back, we've actually left the stock fender flares the way that they were. Now, in one of my previous videos, the last time we took this thing riding, I did rip the fender flare off whenever we were riding. All of the fender clips behind it were actually just basically broken, and I had to replace those, but of course it's a pretty cheap fix, and I show in my video exactly what happened and why we had to fix it. But then you can see that we cut down these rock sliders there as well. And with those cut down, we haven't had any issues with clearance in the rear other than ripping the entire fender out. Now, to move on to the back, obviously we've got the spare tire delete here, and with that, it's just a look that I typically go with. I like it a lot better than having that heavy full weight spare in the back. Looking underneath, you can definitely tell that we're missing something back here, and that would be the traditional exhaust. Now, what we did for the exhaust is we did our own basically straight pipe. We've ran through probably 6 different variations of the straight pipe to get what we really wanted. And now we've got something extremely unique, and it actually sounds really, really good. And it's not going to give us any clearance issues on the trail as well. This is exactly what it looks like. We've got everything from the cats, and then comes back here right where the mid pipe would actually start in the resonator. And then it drops down right there, right before the rear axle. And that's actually worked out really, really well so far. Sounds good and performs well off-road. Also got a video on that, so go check it out if that's something you guys are interested in. Now, as you guys can probably tell, the tint is quite a bit darker than what you get from the factory. So with this, I just ended up putting the 15% tint over the factory rear tint, and then 15 for the front as well, and then a 35 windshield. And that's been pretty good for this one. I have ran 5% on one of the previous Rubicons in the past, 5% all the way around, and I think it was a 15% windshield. And that was just a bit too dark whenever you do get onto the back roads. It really just eliminates most of your vision, and things that you can see are things you'll need to see. So with this one, I think the 15% all the way around with the 35% windshield is probably the best bet. Another thing you'll notice is just going to be the stubby antenna, and this is actually the second one. The first one got ripped off whenever we were riding, but for this one, it's just simple antenna you can get from O'Reilly's. They're extremely cheap, but they're pretty durable too. They'll take a beating before they do decide to rip off, and it just really cleans up that look quite a bit. Now, the interior is actually pretty nice on these from the factory. I mean, it comes with all the equipment you'd really ask for, especially in a Jeep Wrangler. It's a little bit more than what you would even consider. And of course, you've got your factory switches down there for the front and rear locker. Also the off-road plus mode sway bar disconnect, which is always nice. Got the SRT inspired steering wheel with the paddle shifters, which are a lot of fun. They are just a little bit laggy. And the only thing I've actually changed in here is just the floor mats. And I ended up running the last fit. They are laser cut and they hold everything in really well. But they also look good. They've got a similar tread pattern as to like my Mickey Thompson Baja Boss that are on right now. Even in the back, they really hold all the dirt in whenever you do get it dirty back here, and they're really easy to clean. So that's something I just really like about these. Now, there have been quite a few little minor inconveniences and a lot of things that I really enjoy on this Rubicon 392. It's an absolute beast, and it's unlike really anything else on the market right now, especially in its price point, even though it's quite a bit higher than what we're typically used to for these Rubicons, for Wranglers in general. But it's definitely well worth the money. If you guys haven't already, go back, check out my channel. You'll see quite a few different videos. I've done a few different reviews on this vehicle too. So in-depth reviews at different mileage points. My most previous was at 10,000 miles, and we really went in-depth to go over everything about this Rubicon 392. I've also made pretty well in-depth videos on each modification we've added or anything that we've done, and it pretty much goes step by step. So if you guys are interested in really anything you see on this Rubicon, you can definitely find it on my channel, as well as my honest opinion on this thing. And it's done really well so far. Like I said, we have ran into some minor inconveniences, some small stuff, and of course that's what happens with a one of the first production vehicles of its kind. So I really expected it, and it hasn't been bad at all. So overall, I've been extremely happy with owning this thing for a year so far. Don't have any major issues that I should really even bring up at this point. But then again, it is a Jeep, so the few things that have came up, I've really just either been able to fix myself or been able to address it pretty easily. That's just about going to wrap it up for today, guys. I know this video is so much different than what we typically do, but I just wanted to put this out there that way you guys could see what we've done step by step and really look over the Jeep. And I've made so many videos on the past on each individual part. I wanted to just basically go over what we have done. And like I said, this does mark right at 1 year of ownership with the Jeep. And in all honesty, I couldn't be more happy with how it's performed so far, the things we've been able to add, and how easy it's really been to work on. Of course, if you guys haven't already, go check out the merch. I've got the link in the description down below. That's the easiest way to support the channel. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this thing and what you want to see next. Now, please stay tuned for what's coming next. This weekend I'm going to be extremely busy just like today. Some big changes coming to the channel, and hopefully it'll help us out tremendously. That way we can produce some better content. But until next time, guys, just take it easy.